Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the first round of the LMP Masters Series here at the Grand Prestige League. We are here at the Daytona International Raceway, and we are here for 60 minutes to kick off our brand new season, and it's going to be a fantastic season, let me tell you. So, let's go ahead and just run you through how the series is going to work. So, there are 3 LMP1 cars that you can choose from: the Toyota TSO 50 Hybrid, the Audi R18, and the Porsche 919 Hybrid. So each driver is required to use each car twice, and you cannot use the same car back to back, so every driver will be in a brand new car pretty much every single race. And then when we hit the season finale, it is a one-make series using the Toyota TSO 30, which is the car that we used for pre-qualifying. Once again, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Ruckus. I'll be your host and commentator here for the series, alongside B23. How are you doing today, mate?
I am doing well. Just woke up just in time for this, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. We are here for the opening round of the Community Series. Last time out, last summer, we were doing the Group 2 cars, the GT500s, and that was an absolute blast to see everyone in those, and with different cars on the track at the same time too. We got to see the NSX be pretty dominant, so that might be the case again this time around with another car showing that it's the dominant car, and the word on the street is that it will be the Audi.
So the Audi is the so-called dominant car here, so that's interesting to see. So we'll see if that actually plays out. We do know that from a different series that I spectated, one that some of these drivers did compete in, we know that there's a bit of strength and weakness when it comes to all 3 of these cars. The Toyota has really rough energy consumption issues, and the Audi is really good at energy consumption, and the Porsche, from my understanding, is kind of in that middle ground. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how this is going to work out.
Cool. Yeah, because I'm totally unfamiliar with the Porsche and its performance. I do know about the Audi relative to the that 2016 Toyota's performance, and it wasn't even close in that Enduro GT that we watched. The Toyota just wasn't competitive in a few aspects, but especially in the battery consumption and recovery aspect. So we'll see if that becomes a factor here at Daytona, because it's a very different track to the one we were watching them on.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's no question about it. So, I mean, it's an interesting choice of circuits we have here. A lot of familiar circuits, a lot of circuits that are good for these type of cars. So, it should be a very spectacular season. And then, just after that, just after we wrap up this season, it is the GPL 250 coming up. So, similar to the SF500, although it's going to be with a different car in a different class, both of which are still yet to be determined. We'll be providing you guys, excuse me, my throat dried up there, but we'll be presenting you guys all that information as soon as we can. And before we get into qualifying, I do want to go ahead and give a massive shout out to our sponsor, W.GG. Use promo code GPL at their website to go ahead and give yourself a nice 10% discount, and then you'll be able to support the league, and then we can do some even cooler stuff than what we've already got going on here at GPL. What's your thoughts about Daytona here, B23? Because, I mean, it's an endurance racing classic.
Yeah, so the last handful of times that I raced here was with the Super Formula, and I am not a fan of this track in the Super Formula car. But with a car like this, I do think it's actually really well suited for these characteristics, and they literally race here in these in real life too. So I think that it's much, much better in the Group 1 cars, the LMP cars, and this should be a fun one. I'm curious to see what the slipstream levels are like when they're in the oval.
Indeed, yeah, you can use the oval quite consistently. And while we go ahead and wait, let's go ahead and hit the track and take a look at some cars. We are still missing 1 driver, but in the meantime, we will go ahead and just jump on board. We have a few different drivers here running a few different cars, which is always nice to see. Bit of a change up too, because as we know from the pre-qualifying sessions at Road Atlanta earlier on last week, and actually throughout the last 2 weeks, you'll know that the the Toyota that's going to be used in the One Make series is a very unforgiving car. We've seen championship drivers like Lucian, Nuko, Comer, all those championship level drivers just struggling to get to grips with that Toyota. So although that Toyota isn't here, it'll be interesting to see the contrast and which of these cars is going to struggle and which of these cars is going to perform really nicely. But we also got to consider that sometimes it's just the driver-car combination.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was wondering, too, if there's going to be some strategy at play as far as what car you pick for what track, or if you're going to try to coordinate relative to a rival to try to get a good mismatch on them in a particular track. So very interesting stuff. Like, would you want to save your best car for your worst track to make up the performance deficit you may have, or save your best car for your best track so that you ensure a good result? Very tough decisions that will be made throughout the season in that regard.
Indeed, yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and confirm to race control that we are ready to kick things on here to go ahead and get started with qualifying. 15 minutes of qualifying, then a 60-minute race, which is going to be the format for every single race that we are doing here. So we're going to go ahead and just talk about the schedule a bit. So after Daytona, we go to the track that we raced at for the Super Formula 500. So we are heading to Deep Forest Raceway as our second track. And once again, it is a 1-hour endurance race, just like all the races here this season. And then we head to last year's SF500 race of Spa-Francorchamps. And then we're heading to Le Mans, Watkins Glen, Fuji, and then the One Make race in Suzuka. Now, Suzuka is going to be a really interesting one because, like I mentioned earlier, the cars were pretty slippery in a kind of similar track with Road Atlanta. It has some similar S's to it, although the overall track profile is drastically different. But Suzuka is also known for its S's, and that Toyota, it didn't take a lot to get that Toyota spinning around, so it'll be interesting to see how the race plays out. But that is quite a ways away from now. That is not until the end of October. So the next race will be 2 weeks from now. So this race this league will go ahead and have these LMP Masters races pretty much every other week. So you'll get a bit of a gap in between, but I can promise you that the wait will definitely be worth it because these drivers, there's a lot of strategy at hand. And I know you touched upon this earlier, B23. There is so much more strategy than just the tires and the fuel for this specific race because of this car allocation system.
Absolutely. I'm trying to add as well a live stream link onto our Instagram story for the league too, by the way, so make sure if you haven't already, go ahead and give that a follow at Grand Prestige League. But yeah, as you say, a lot of strategy involved, and I'm not sure as well if even fuel might be a factor, because normally in this league they set up the fuel levels so that you don't have to manage it or worry about it too much. There should be enough for a whole race distance. But as we know, drivers on this level, the fuel weight makes a big difference in the car's performance when you're fighting for every little hundredth of a second on the track. And so maybe if another car burns more fuel than the other, making the car lighter over the course, their car might evolve in a more favorable manner over the course of a race distance. So there's just a lot going on, a lot of factors that we are unfamiliar with so far. So this is going to be very interesting to watch, especially in the opening round here.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And it's going to be... And this track in particular is going to be a wild one because there's so much opportunity for slipstream here because we are on a road course that shares a lot of components with its oval counterpart. So there's a lot of high-speed areas where, I mean, the slipstream is going to be super crucial in this race, like you touched upon earlier, because you're going to be able to save a little bit of fuel and gain so much speed throughout those oval sections, as Alex is on that oval section right now. The Audi R18 go ahead and making his way around the back half of the oval, and then making his way down into the Le Mans chicane, but he's got a good amount of time before he gets there. So I actually tested this track not too long ago in a Super Formula car, and I found it pretty decent, but I can see while racing with a bunch of other drivers, it just kind of comes to like an IndyCar type situation, which is something we actually haven't really done here in GPL. But I mean, once again, there's still so many fantastic tracks that we can use for Super Formula. And what's your prediction for the GPL 250, by the way? Because I know we've talked about it a little bit, and that will be our next event once we wrap up here in the LMP Masters.
So on that one, I've been really stuck as far as what track we should go to. So because I'm in charge of picking what track for that particular event, and because we're using the F3500, that 90s Formula One car, there's a few tracks that instantly come to mind, but I also want a car that really suits its characteristics. So like Interlagos comes to mind, but it's got a lot of really kind of tight technical corners that would be really, really hard in that car. I'm also thinking maybe Spa, but then again, we use Spa so much, especially for like one-off events. Spa is one of the go-tos, so maybe Suzuka as well. But yeah, I'm not sure. Would you have any ideas as to a good track you'd like to see the F3500s on?
I mean, I can name a bunch of tracks, honestly, because I mean, the F3500 is a really tricky car to kind of handle. It's like the TSO 30, where it just really doesn't take any prisoners, and it doesn't have as much downforce as the Super Formula car does, but it's got a lot more power behind it too. So it's definitely, you definitely got to be on the ball when you're driving that thing to get the most out of it. It's a car I like driving, but it's a car I struggle to drive. As when we're talking about struggle, Nuko is not struggling here to put down a fantastic lap to go ahead and kick things off a bit here. But Alex jumps up ahead, 0.3 of a second ahead, and as these starting times starting to roll on in. But something I actually tested the other day that I was going to bring up at some point is I did a Super Formula race with the AI around Jaeger Nordwand, and honestly, it wasn't too bad. I mean, to me, it's a better version of Monaco.
I was surprised you didn't immediately throw in Igor Nordwand there for the F3500.
I mean, it could work. I mean, the F3500 is a smaller car compared to it, so, I mean, maybe.
It's basically a go-kart. Why not? We just do that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that, you're gonna need a classic track, because that is reminiscent of classic Formula One cars from the, I think around the 80s or 90s. I'm leaning more towards 90s, I think. I could be wrong about that, but regardless, it's still a classic Formula One car, so I think you do need a track that's kind of embedded with classic Formula One. I mean, ideally, the go-to would be Silverstone 100%, but for those of you who may not be familiar with Gran Turismo, we don't have Silverstone, unfortunately.
Yeah, no Silverstone, no Monaco, all sorts of good classics are missing from this one that I wish we had.
I mean, just imagine a 24 hours of Monaco. That'd be diabolical. But I think a good track would be a track that we don't use a super amount of times. Like, I know we've used, like you said, we've used Spa quite a bit, and we've also used Deep Force quite a bit. But we need a track that's also synonymous with classic F1. So I'm thinking maybe even a Monza might be a pick to throw in. I know you love Monza, and I'm kind of surprised we're not doing Monza for this season, but who knows? Maybe in the Super Formula season come November.
Yes, hopefully so.
Coming back to the qualifying action here, it is still Alex ahead of Nuko, ahead of Lucian, our top 3 drivers at the moment. Now, unlike the regular Super Formula season, there are no teams here. If you are a part of an esports organization, then you are more than welcome to represent your team, but there are no team standings. It is all individual based, just like the GT500 season was a year ago. And just talking about, we have some new faces, or well, in this case, a singular new face, I believe. Actually, we have 2 new faces here. So we have BP and May JP. So do you know anything about either of these drivers? Because I've seen BP in the pre-qualifying sessions, and he seemed like he's a pretty solid candidate.
So BP is actually a returning driver from not the season that just concluded, but the previous season of GPL. He was the SWT champion with Mercedes, and that was an incredibly tough season. He was like my primary rival in that season as well. So shout out to BP. It's good to see him back because he was missing for all of last season. So it's good to see him back in the mix. He was an extremely solid driver, and his lag was insane that season too, and it does look to have improved quite a bit. So that's always good to see as well. The other name we see here, May JP, I'm very familiar with May JP as he is racing in DRL, the Dracon Racing League, over just across the way in the Super Formula Series for High Caliber. So he actually has the most supporters every time I stream too. So he gets a lot of screen time so that I can show those guys their boy. So we see a lot of May JP over there. It even became somewhat of a meme that I show May JP a lot, but that's what happens when you have supporters. So shout out to May JP and anyone who may be watching supporting him today. But yeah, as you say too, there's no teams in this series for this season, but there are people affiliated with teams, of course, still driving, and so you may see team liveries. There are a few that I designed on track today for the EXO cars, being driven by Illusion, Yuki, and JD Killswitch. And also, for anyone who may be listening who is a driver or familiar with the drivers who don't have a dedicated livery for these cars, I also made extra liveries with the High Caliber brand. So if anyone wants additional liveries, you don't even have to be in High Caliber. Just let me know. I can make you a High Caliber livery for any one of the cars that will be used in the series.
Yeah, talking about liveries, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic liveries here that I can just kind of mentally envision them on the Super Formula cars. Like, I'm looking at Daytona right now, and it's Red Bull, Adidas, Porsche, and I mean, this thing is just a thing of beauty. I mean, the Red Bull Adidas liveries are very solid, and that's another thing I just absolutely adore about GPL, is that the liveries in this league are, bar none, some of the best in racing in general. I mean, the EXO livery on Yuki's Toyota right now is absolutely fantastic. I love the color fraction that's kind of happening there. And then Alex has got an Audi livery, like a hardcore Audi livery. Very nice, which actually come to think of it, that there's a chance that actually might be a default livery. But
I think it is, yeah.
Still a cool livery. Nuko has got a very nice custom-made Toyota livery, similar to the one that he used during the pre-qualifying on the other Toyota. And then we have Death Ghosted, who's got a very nice livery as well. We'll go ahead and get a good look at it here very soon. And we're actually already 2/3 of the way done with qualifying. So yeah, that's definitely a custom Audi livery on Death Ghosted's car. BP's got a fantastic livery of Rebellion Racing. And then obviously we have the very eye-catching Hololive livery from Chemizure.
Ah, yes.
MJP, or May JP with the High Caliber Racing livery. And then Killswitch also running a similar livery to Death Ghosted. So lots of unique liveries here, and I mean, if the liveries here are fantastic, then I can't wait to see what liveries the teams bring in for Super Formula coming soon. And speaking of Super Formula, I know we have some new teams coming in. Racing Force is coming in. They're bringing in the team. I think they're called Racing Force BMW is what they're going with. Curious on any other new teams.
Perhaps not necessarily a brand new team, but like Foxhound is probably going to have a presence this season as well, and with Racing Force back in the mix as well, like these are teams that have been around and maybe have taken a sabbatical from GPL at some point, but are returning, and it's always good to see because they were some of the more stronger brands in these leagues as far as just their like identity goes and familiarity with the liveries and everything they got going on. So always good to see that at the helm of those teams being Whiplash and Swoody respectively.
Yeah, indeed. And I know I've done some livery stuff in the past just for some personal side projects, and first off, esports teams I'd love to see in Super Formula, although they don't exactly have a racing background, so it'd be a bit trickier. But and if you think about it too, because and this is one of them is a team you raced against quite a bit, and they were probably EXO's main rival in SWT last season, but Kaizen Motorsports was a brand new team that came in, and they immediately made an impact Foxhound too also made a pretty solid impact in WEC. So there's a lot of teams and drivers that can make some very solid impacts when they join a league. I mean, Kaizen is the team I'm thinking about because they pretty much have both of their drivers becoming race winners in their very first season in SWT, which you know that both divisions of Super Formula are hyper competitive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and plus I've seen kind of a trend over the past few seasons that when a brand new team is joining, they usually are either going to find themselves somewhere at the bottom or up at the top of the grid. For some reason, it usually isn't somewhere in between, which kind of makes sense to me. They're either already fast beforehand, that's why they want to compete, or they want to get good and end up having to start at the humble side of the grid. But either way, it is always good to have new teams always rotating in and out. Kind of like real life Formula One, how it's mostly the same people, mostly the same teams, but there's always a little bit of rotation, and that's nice to see as well.
Yeah, like with Formula One bringing in Cadillac next season. I did hear some other rumors of some other teams potentially joining on in. Nexus Motorsports might be a new team next season, potentially. I've heard some things from that side. And Yuki is telling someone nice, and if I know anything about Yuki, aka
yes.
Pixel, that was probably not a nice thing.
No, it was. I caught that actually too. There was a bit of impeding going on track from between Yuki and May JP. Not sure if May JP was on a hot lap or not, but definitely impeded the progress of Pixel here, and he jumped back into the pits to give another attempt.
We got a confirmation from it in chat, and he did apologize, so that may still be a penalty depending on if Yuki reports it, but we'll just have to see. We are down to the final about minute and a half of qualifying. That kind of came around pretty quickly. So Alex right now still has that fastest lap that he set from the beginning of the session, a 1:31.484, and then pretty much directly behind him is Nuko, the champion from WEC. And then behind him, only 67/100ths of a second, is Lusion, the winner of the 2025 Super Formula 500 at Deep Forest Raceway and championship runner-up in Season 6. So, I mean, it feels like Lusion and Nuko are always kind of like glued together. You can never really separate them. I mean, even in the times, too. That time is even closer now. 22/100ths of a second in between.
Yeah, no, that's pretty crazy. It's insane how they always end up so close to each other, especially given the differences in their driving style and their techniques and approaches. I mean, especially in the Super Formula Series, because even their tuning philosophies are generally pretty opposite to each other, and yet they come together and meet somewhere right, not in the middle, but at the top, rather.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much, I mean, they've never been super far apart in terms of race time, so I mean, they're probably the closest rivalry in GPL at this point, but Lusion is setting purple sectors now, as it is the final lap of the session. There's a lot of laps still going to come in. Lusion is having purple sectors though, and now he is up by a 10th on Alex's time, so are we going to see a shock Toyota pole position here at Daytona? We'll just have to see. He's coming across using every bit of that chicane, and now he is going through the back half of the oval, making his run to start finish straight. This is where he really has to get the hammer down, burn up that battery if he can. He's going to go ahead and put the foot to the floor, pedal to the metal. He's going to come across the line. It's going to be a time gonna for pole, maybe? No! Just barely off. He doesn't improve on his personal best. That straight line speed of the Toyota not doing him any favors. So that is our top three pretty much done and dusted. What about BP? Nope, they're done. Yuki is the next one that's going to be finished. Just 8 thousandths ahead. And he does improve quite a bit. He improves his time, but not his position, as the rest of the field is pretty much done and dusted. So a pretty solid qualifying here.
Yeah, and that was really interesting. So, because Illusion was up the whole lap, and he wasn't up by too much, but it definitely looks like he lost all of the time in that chicane there. But a very good effort to even be competitive, fighting for pole position against an Audi, which definitely does seem to be the superior car on this track, as he couldn't even bring it within a few tenths of Alex, and we know that Illusion, while Alex is extremely pacey and can fight for pole on any given day in equal machinery, usually I would give the qualifying edge to Illusion and Nuco, and so the Audi showing out early on in the season.
Indeed. I mean, we know that Audi is probably the strongest car out of the three that you can choose, but there's a reason why we implemented the car limit, so we'll see how this one runs out. But we also know that Alex is not afraid to get his elbows up, sometimes to an illegal level. We know Alex, if he sees a gap, even if it's a gap that really doesn't fit, he's still going to go for it. He'll try to brute force that gap. So, I mean, Alex does have a very aggressive driving style. Even if he doesn't get pole position, he'll definitely put up a good fight for it. But, I mean, Nuco and Illusion, we're going to talk about them again, because they wouldn't be championship level contenders, champions themselves, if they didn't have a similar kind of pace. So, I mean, we got 60 minutes around this track, and it's pretty much the ratio of one lap versus many laps. So we'll see how this one plays out. I think it's going to be a really fun one.
So too, and my quick prediction for the race as well is that I think Alex is going to convert this pole into a victory today, because he seems to be the only driver in this top group that could probably compete with the likes of Nuco and Illusion anyways, and it does seem that he has the car advantage here, so I'm going to give that edge to Alex in this particular race.
So something interesting worth noting as we pull up our qualifying results here. The lobby is going to be reset, and then we're going to go in and just manually set the grid, but we do know that the Audi is the strongest car at this field. But the weird one is that we don't see any Porsches. There's not a single Porsche on this grid, and the Porsche is available, so I wonder what's the reason for not using that Porsche, because at least I kind of figured that the Porsche is like the middle ground in between the Audi and the Toyota.
That is very interesting. I actually didn't notice that, but yeah, that's true. Everyone is either in the TS 050 or the Audi R18, and perhaps it has to do with the unfamiliarity of the Porsche, because I don't know if they're in a similar boat as me, but I just have not seen or driven the Porsche at all. But I have seen the Toyota and the Audi quite a good amount, whether it be daily races or the Enduro GT that we've seen a little bit of. And so perhaps that could be a reason.
Yeah, and I mean, we know the big thing is that the Audi is really good on its battery management compared to the Toyota, because the Toyota will just burn through its battery like nothing. It pretty much has less battery life than a Tesla Model S running down a highway. So yeah, that battery life isn't really good. And I mean, granted, these cars aren't electric, but they are indeed hybrids. So I mean, you get a good amount of a speed boost when you have that battery available, but the Toyota just doesn't really do a good job of it. And I mean, I feel like it'd be a bit of a better thing if it's like in the Formula 1 games, where you can actually actively change like what mode your battery is set to, like if you want to recharge it, if you want to deploy it, if you want to go neutral.
Ah, yes.
But you don't have that option in Gran Turismo 7, so you pretty much just have to work with what you got, and that really handicaps the Toyota.
Yeah, you just have to be very deliberate on your braking, maybe hard braking in those hard braking zones just a tad more to give yourself a little bit more juice for the straights. I'm not exactly how sure you would manage that, or sure how you would manage that on the with just braking to recharge the battery alone. It is kind of difficult, especially on a track that is like 90% oval.
Yeah, so we'll see how this plays out. Because, I mean, this is a different track than pretty much any other track we're going to be hitting. I don't think there's even any track really similar to what we're doing in Daytona. I mean, the only track that you can even have some kind of similar qualities is Le Mans. And the only real similarity between those two is that you can get a massive slipstream through about basically half the track. And that's pretty much really the only similarity that Le Mans and Daytona have in common in terms of just the track layout. But still, I mean, this is the only, like, partial oval that we're racing on. This is the only, basically the only, I think it's actually the only American, no, there's Watkins Glen, but this is really, there's no track really like Daytona that we're actually racing on this season. So, I mean, who knows, the Audi could potentially fall off in other tracks, too. Like, there could be some other tracks, like maybe some twistier tracks, where that car doesn't really doesn't really compete well at. Like, I mean, DeForest, I mean, yeah, it does have its straights, but it's also really twisty in the middle sector. Suzuka doesn't have a ton of straights. I mean, it's got more straights than some of the tracks, but yeah, I just really think that on the tracks where you pretty much have a higher top speed, the Audi is going to be definitely the favorite. The Toyota might be better on some of the twistier tracks, but I mean, you can't use the same car twice in a row, so pretty much this entire grid's going to look different 2 weeks from now.
Absolutely, it is going to be very interesting. What's the next track going to be, you know, off the top of your head?
It is Deep Forest Raceway.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting one. So I would assume that the Audi, the advantage of the Audi won't be as pronounced on a track like that. So maybe we'll see more Porsches and Toyotas being used there. But then again, there's quite a lot of Toyotas here today. So maybe, oh, you know what, actually, because I was thinking in terms of straight line speed, but I think the Audi actually has a cornering speed advantage too. So I'm not sure precisely. I haven't spent too much time in the Audi. When I was doing some Group 1 racing and daily races, last time I was doing it, I was in the GR 2021 version of the Toyota racing against the R18. So I only know of the R18's characteristics more so from a rival's perspective than my own. So very interesting to see if my theory bears out to be true here. So
we'll see how this we're gonna go and get started here very soon. It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out because in Super Formula you pretty much lock in with one car and stay with that car. And then also when we did the GT500 season as well, that was pretty much the gist. You would just get a car and then just stick with that car for the season. But this is the only season we have done here where you are required to switch cars every race. So that's gonna add an extra element of strategy throughout the season. And I think this is really gonna come down to who can be consistent enough. Because I mean, it's no surprise to anyone that the Audi is pretty much the dominant car that is basically your best option to use. I mean, if we allowed free range, then I'm pretty sure this would just about become an Audi one make series. But
oh yes,
if you can still keep consistent enough to stay within those upper reaching points paying positions in a Toyota or in a Porsche, and then you have some drivers that are only good with the Audi, then you have a better shot winning this thing just through sheer consistency alone. Now, I will say that considering the caliber of drivers we have here at GPL, I don't think that's really going to be an issue. I think these drivers are going to be pretty adaptable. But the one thing is during that pre-qualifying, that TSO 30 that was used, and the car that's going to be used at the end of the season, that thing takes no prisoners whatsoever. Probably the hardest car to drive out of that bunch.
Yes, indeed. I was very curious in the preseason planning phases how they were going to handle the different cars and different performances of the car. And I think switching cars every race, basically, within this allotment of cars, is a very clever idea, and I really like the idea of it. So it's always going to be a little different. And as you say on consistency, too, it's hard enough to just be consistent in the same car over the course of a whole season of racing around other people who have different driving styles and everything else going on in the race, but then to have to be consistent when every single round you're in a different car to the one you just raced in with completely different characteristics and handling and the way it feels under acceleration and braking, and everything is going to be different. And so that's just a whole another layer of adaptability and consistency that is required for these drivers to perform well this season.
Speaking of performing, our drivers are going to go to perform the first race of the season here for this new season. LMP Masters, the Community Series here, race number 1 at Daytona is about to go live. It's going to be a rolling start. Alex will lead us to the line. And it's going to be a very spicy start because that turn 1 is very sharp here around this Daytona circuit. We'll see who's got it going on the best. And we're underway with the first round of the season. It is a good launch there from Nuko, actually, just there in P2. He's looking to set it up the inside. A bit of a tap there, but it all goes through okay. And so far, Nuko and Alex really got a good launch here. Nuko's trying to still force it up the inside. He's got the inside line, trying to make it stick. He's got to get the hammer down. A bit of a snap coming out of the turn. But Nuko does get that position. What a move to kick off the race.
And Illusion was just behind Nuko too, almost made up that position as well, as Alex fights back to the inside. Yeah, moves early on is the best place to do it, because once these cars start spreading out, it's going to be hard to catch that Audi.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, catching an Audi is a task easier said than done. But
and Nuko back into P1 again.
Yeah, I mean, what a start for Nuko. The champion from Season 6 of the Grand Prestige League Super Formula Series in the World Elite Championship class. He is putting a move on right now. I mean, if we just look at the battery, the Audi's got basically a ton more battery. But Nuko is just not even letting that phase him. He is just turning on the afterburners and letting that Toyota sing.
And we got a battle for P8 here with MayJP and Ducky Dono. MayJP basically a trailer to Ducky Dono, just can't quite get around him, and that's allowing JD Killswitch to get in this fight now. JD Killswitch, 3 wide now going here, the battle for the last positions on the grid, but it is probably the most exciting one at the moment.
Ooh, yeah, this is getting dicey.
Oh, JD on the bottom line now. As he gets through both, double overtake for JD Killswitch.
Using that straight line speed of the Audi, and MayJP comes out of left field and just jumps in the P8. What a maneuver. We got to see that on a replay.
That was a huge switchback. He had so much more traction coming out of that first turn there. He built a gap off of it.
Yeah, it's the other two drivers.
10 now.
The other drivers just going wide there on that first corner. And I mean, that was a fantastic move. Yeah, like you said, he's already up on the gearbox of a fellow Toyota. And kept sure, and a bit of contact there. Slight little
and JD's
bump.
off.
Slight
so JD off
there.
track now. Oh yeah, MayJP here making up ground as we got. Oh, and he's being a trailer. We'll see what side he decides. Kemazur does look like he's trying to kind of occupy the bottom line. He's just using the whole entire oval here. MayJP's having a hard time getting around, and he's almost a little bit too close to have an effective slipstream to actually have enough momentum to get all the way past that car.
Indeed, yeah.
Everyone's setting purples now.
Using that NASCAR tactic of bump drafting. I mean, we're at a NASCAR track, so that does check out quite nicely. And we're going to see if MayJP can get the move done on the Kemazur, the high caliber racing driver, sending it up the inside of the HoloLive driver. And he's up in the P7. He qualified at the I think he qualified P10, and now he's up in the 7th. The Kemazur having a bit of trouble there in that Toyota, but man, fights are happening all across the field. But one thing I can tell you is Nuko is a rocket ship right now in that Toyota. I was honestly kind of expecting Nuko not to be far off the pace, but I was expecting Alex to still be in the lead, considering how strong the Audi was in qualifying. But in race trim, that Toyota is something else right now.
Yeah, the Toyota definitely outperforming my expectations for the car relative to the Audi, and I mean, he is putting on a clinic right now, gapping Alex to the tune of 2.5 seconds by lap 3 here. with the purple lap as well to boot. And something that's also surprising me, outperforming my expectations with this particular car, is the battery performance. As we can see, he's recovering quite a bit even just through the chicane there. And then the deployment really only seems to be happening in the acceleration portion of his gas pedal application there. So when he's actually full speed across the oval, it's not really deploying too much battery. So he actually has quite enough left over to do the rest of the lap without being completely empty at any point.
Yeah, so whatever battery deficit that these cars had, they definitely figured it out, and maybe figured out some kind of trick to kind of help bring that battery back in. I'm seeing in chat that they might have a strategy for light tapping on the brake to help build up that battery a bit to make it not as much of a deficit to the Audi. So, but here's another question mark that we're going to have, and we'll probably figure out at the next race at D4, 2 weeks from now, but where does the Porsche kind of stack into this?
The Porsche is a complete unknown entity at this point, and so just a complete wild card to throw into the mix, especially in the next round, as given the cars we're seeing on track today, it's an inevitability we're going to have to see probably quite a few Porsches out there, so I'm very curious to see how that plays out.
Indeed. I mean that's the cool thing about this series, is that you're pretty much going to see basically a brand new race every single time, because I mean there's always that bit of consistency, a bit of that predictability when it comes to the Super Formula races. You know, you can expect that, oh, you know, Death Ghosted is going to be in a Project Zero car, just for throwing names out there. Yuki is going to be in an EXO car, you know, he's going to be in the same Super Formula. Illusion is going to be in the same Super Formula. But with this, every driver is going to be in a different car for pretty much every single race. So, I mean, there's 3 separate sets of data you really got to kind of analyze here as the drivers, and also to the either fortunate or poor soul, depending on how you want to look at it, who goes through the setup and tries to find an optimal setup for the team, or even just as the drivers to find their own setups and find what works for them around these tracks. Because like as we're on board with Nuko, I mean Nuko's not going to be in the Toyota next time around. He's going to be either an Audi or a Porsche. He has to use one of those cars. And let's say he uses the Audi next race, he'll be in the Porsche at Spa. So, I mean, or he could get the second Toyota out of the way. That's also a possibility, but still. So many unknowns here, because once again, like we talked about earlier, consistency is going to be key, and you got to perform with 3 different types of cars for the season, so.
And I'm just catching up on the chat here too. I see a bunch of familiar faces. I was neglecting the chat. I see Jesse in the chat too, so shout out to Jesse. Always good to see my boy. I see Whiteout and Rogue, F16 as well, one of the aforementioned MayJP supporters, so it's always good to see people in here supporting their friends, family, and colleagues, whoever these people are to you. It is always good to see you support our drivers. It means a lot to us and to them.
100%. I mean, I 100% agree on that. And it's gonna be, and I mean, to me, it makes me feel really awesome when I see support for these drivers, even though I'm not the main recipient of it. Obviously, these fantastic drivers are the main recipient, but seeing that the friends and families care enough to support them here in this series, it is probably one of my favorite things about commentating, is seeing the amount of support that gets poured out for these drivers every single time we come to any kind of racetrack in any series.
Absolutely. It means a world of difference, as when I'm looking around the track now at the gaps, they're spreading out quite a bit, but it does look like the biggest mover on track right now is MayJP, now up into P7. It does look like he's almost closing the gap to Yuki there ahead, both of which are in that Toyota. So we will see who outright has the driving advantage here. I would expect that Yuki would have the pace advantage in general over MayJP, but MayJP is actually, he's putting in work today.
I feel like in the Super Formula Series that the battle between Yuki and MayJP would actually be a super fun one to watch, I think. I mean, we've seen Yuki get better and better with every single race. He has been improving on a very consistent level. I mean, you can say the same about Alex too. I mean, he was essentially a meme in the GT 500 series, and then we come to Super Formula and he's a multiple race winner, and he's been doing excellent work in other racing series as well in different cars. So I know he's very proficient in GT3s because I've seen him in a handful of series in GT3s. And also, I've seen him do pretty good in some other unique vehicle types. And right now, he's doing pretty solid in the Audi, but the race pace of Nuko is just in another timeline right now.
Yeah, up to 6 seconds is the gap up there. It's extremely impressive. And Alex, like you said, has been improving quite a bit, especially just in the kind of tactical aspect of racing, too. So not as much known for being a meme as a bowling ball into turn one anymore. He is still known as quite the meme in general, but maybe not as much for that particular reason anymore, so that is quite an improvement nonetheless.
I think we should give him some Dubby energy to see how much of a wrecking ball he can be at some point.
Yeah. On his qualifying has improved too, and so it's easier not to be a bowling ball when you're starting from P1.
Indeed, yeah, we're actually gonna ride on board with Alex through a lap here, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump on board with the Audi going into turn number 1. I mean, he's got a lot of battery still left to play with, so I mean, the battery is gonna help with that acceleration. He burns a little bit here going into one half of the International Horseshoe, and I think you see something.
Yeah, MayJP making a move around the outside of turn 1 onto Yuki. Oh, and then Yuki, oh my god, a little bit of contact as the corner switches sides. Now Yuki on the outside. We'll see if he has the grip. It looks like a switchback. Yeah, quite a good move there. MayJP a little too far to the inside, as Yuki got that right back. I was not expecting MayJP to close in quite so early there.
Indeed, let's go to watch that again on a replay, just some of the early parts of that battle. So he's got a very good run down the back straight here. He actually gets past him around the outside and then kind of has to back off a bit as Yuki does have the inside line. We go back to this frame here, and these drivers are really just fighting a tooth and nail. MJP even getting a bit on the grass there as he goes wide there towards the end. So I mean, good clean battling from these two, and I mean, this makes me really want to see how MJP does in Super Formula if he decides to join for this coming season, starting up in November.
Oh yes, and I mean, watching that little battle made me realize something pretty critical actually too. If you look at their battery levels, they are both completely empty, and Illusion is, well, he's just recovered a bit now, but Illusion's battery life was significantly worse than Nuko's, and I was not expecting to see that, because when we were comparing the Audi to the Toyota's battery, at that time Nuko and Illusion had very similar levels. So I was more comparing between the cars, but now that we've brought up this technique with the light braking and a little bit of extra braking to recover that battery, Nuko definitely seems to be the driver here who has the best battery recovery technique, and it's not costing him any pace either, as he's continuing to stretch his lead, now up to over 7.5 seconds.
That is I mean, that's the thing I love about this league, is that it's still very competitive here. Even though this isn't our primary season, drivers still looking for every which way to get a potential edge over their opponents on track, and the sun is starting to set here in the Sunshine State here in Central Florida. I was actually born in Daytona, so I actually was born pretty close to the circuit. Never actually lived in Daytona though, so I pretty much spent most of my life in Jacksonville. So yeah, I've been quite around the state of Florida. I've been to this track a few times, and I've watched some pretty spectacular races. Still haven't seen the Daytona 24 around here in person though. I've seen like a NASCAR Truck Series race when I was younger, and I think I saw like a regular NASCAR race at some point around this track. So
you were born in the pit lane.
probably, yeah. I was.
Yeah.
Rumor has I was born with a commentator mic in my hand, so potentially.
Indeed. I've seen the pictures.
I haven't even seen those pictures. How the heck? As you can tell, we like to have fun here in the commentary booth here at GPL. It's always a good time. When me and B23 get in the booth, we do have a fantastic time here. And it's kind of hard not to have a good time because we have fantastic racing on track, although these gaps have spread out quite a bit here. I mean, nobody's even within a second of each other here. But, I mean, and especially with all the fun stuff being planned for GPL coming up in the next seasons or next few seasons or so, with the obviously we have the LMP Master season, the GPL 250 coming up, and then our crown jewel of the Super Formula season kicking up. So here's a question I want to actually ask chat. Actually, B23 has seen some of the mock-ups that were done, but for you guys who have a favorite team here at GPL, would you guys like the idea of esports jerseys representing your favorite teams? So I was thinking, you know, you can obviously get a jersey for Exodus Motorsports if you're a fan of that team or if you're a part of that team. And then obviously we can talk about the High Caliber Racing team having their own jerseys, Project Zero, etc. Just a cool idea, and I think because we are actually super close to 100 subscribers here on the Grand Prestige League channel. I believe we're at 93, yeah, so we're at 93 subscribers on this channel. So hopefully we can get to 100 before the end of the year. That will be absolutely amazing. I wonder if we should do a subscriber goal for getting 100
I was just
subs.
thinking that. Yeah, so, but basically, even goal or no goal, if I know most of you probably have already, but if you haven't already subscribed to this YouTube channel, you could be the one that takes us over that triple-digit mark. So that would make you a very special person in the history of this league. So cement your legacy here today by subscribing. And also so you don't miss any of the action, because not only are we going to have these cars all season long, but as soon as this season concludes, we're going to have another one-off event with the F3500, and then a whole nother season of Super Formula Racing after that. You're not going to want to miss any of that, so just make sure you are subscribed, like this stream so I can get out to as many people as possible, and follow us on Instagram as well, at Grand Prestige League, for all the updates on the results, standings, and race info.
You know what actually I thought about that would also be really cool is, so our sponsor, Dubby, does have, like, shaker cups, obviously, for different content creators. I would like to see if we can get, shaker cups. GPL shaker cups would be fantastic, because I would take them to work with me, pretty much any chance I get. But also, like, each team having their own shaker cup would be absolutely fantastic, so... maybe
that would be cool.
If you guys go ahead and go to w.gg, use promo code GPL, you can go ahead and get yourself a fantastic tasting energy drink, and you mix it with water. So if friends or loved ones say that you don't drink enough water, but you do really like energy drinks, then there you go. You found your happy medium. You get a 10% discount,
Yeah.
and then you can also support us, so we can potentially do cool things like getting jerseys made for teams and etc. So... I mean, I'm actually getting low on my current W order, so I might have to get some more. I'll definitely use code GPL to get the nice 10% discount, because, I mean, hey, every little bit helps.
If you're gonna get some, you might as well use the code.
Indeed. I mean,
It'll
even though...
help you, it'll help us.
Funny enough, we actually do get a partner code that we can use for an even bigger discount, but I do want to support GPL, so I will use the actual GPL promo code that we get, but...
Your exclusive insider code.
Yeah, my insider code, that is completely not insider at all, but...
Oh, now the sun has set pretty quickly on the track now. It's pretty much completely dark as we see the headlights coming on for these cars now. And the visibility will be greatly reduced. Luckily for these guys, they do have those headlights, but it's a very, very well lit track, so this won't be as big of a problem here as it will on other circuits. But even still, the visibility is going to be lower, and even just with a slight change in the visibility, it can make you nervous as far as like, okay, now I have to really rely on my training and my muscle memory to make sure I'm hitting all of these apexes just right. You might not be able to have quite the same visual angle on it as you did just a few minutes ago.
Indeed, actually, it's been kind of fun actually riding on board with these drivers to kind of see what they're seeing potentially. And like you said, this track is very well lit. I mean, it kind of has to, because this Daytona circuit is also home to the Daytona 500, which none of the NASCAR machines have headlights on them. Cue the Lightning McQueen meme about how the track is always lit, but...
Oh, yes.
But, oh, here's something interesting. Alex has a 1 second time penalty.
That's
for
exactly
track
what I
limit
just
violations.
saw.
Also, here's another fun fact. And as we're on board with the Audi, I'm going to bring it up, because anytime I drive this car, I always remember it. So, for those of you who have a keen eye, you may see that there's a track layout on the right side of the cockpit camera. And if that doesn't look like a track that you recognize from Gran Turismo, that is because it is not a track that is in Gran Turismo. That is the Bahrain International Circuit, and I think it's actually a bit of an outdated layout. But that is the Bahrain International Circuit that is used in Formula 1. As well as the real life World Endurance Championship. So, I mean, I think they should have that track. I think that track would be so much fun. You have a bunch of layouts. You have the endurance layout, you have the Grand Prix layout, which is the one in this Audi in particular. You have the outer circuit layout, and I mean, you could probably get like 7 or 8 different layouts just from the track alone.
Yeah, and that penalty really brought illusion into the fight now for the P2 here, as he is on the tail of Alex. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I do notice that sometimes in these endurance spec cars, they do have a track map posted somewhere in the interior of the car, and that's a nice detail. I like seeing that. But it's interesting that it's a track that's not even in the game, though. I would love to see Bahrain in here.
Also, as I'm reading through chat, apparently you sound like Joe Swanson. I can't really see
Who
it,
said
but hang on, I have to look back and see who said that you sounded like Joe Swanson. Oh, it's Rogue. Rogue was the one saying that you sound like Joe Swanson.
Peter, it's not me. I don't sound like Joe.
Okay, now you sound like him. What's funny is, when I hear that voice, I don't immediately think of Joe Swanson, which I know might be a bit of a crime, but you know who I think of whenever I hear that voice?
Is it the dude from that cartoon adult, what is it, Cartoon Network Adult Swim one? That's the one I think of too, if it's that one.
I think
he's in a bunch of stuff though.
I think of Flynn from Skylanders, if you guys remember that game from like the 2010s.
I like that voice actor a lot too. He's really good. He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean,
he's in the B movie too. I remember the scene and he's in the B movie.
And also, here's another thing. A sneak peek of what is to come. I wish we got Bahrain. I mean, another hot take coming in from Ruckus, which is kind of a common sight now that we think about it. Especially, you remember I think it was either Deep Forest or Trout Mountain, where we had the whole soccer versus football debate that we always bring up every so often.
You're a controversial figure.
I am, especially amongst the European sector. But we're not going to get into that discussion now. That'll be a discussion for later. We have already milked that cow enough when it comes to controversial statements. But I will say,
with another pen.
Unfortunate there for the German driver in the German machine. But I will say, I would much rather have Bahrain compared to Silverstone, just because you'd get more track layout options with Bahrain. That is just me.
That is quite the controversial statement.
Nothing. If they had a Silverstone, I would be pretty happy. I mean, I'd be happy to get any track at this point.
Yeah, I'd be happy with anything. Give me a go-kart track, anything. Give me something.
I'll
take a K1 speed at this point.
Yeah. Oh, or Illusion actually got past Alex. We'll see if we can get that on replay. I did miss that.
It was just from the penalty being served there, and Illusion shot right by with no problem. Especially when Alex be picking up these penalties on the chicane there in the oval, and when he crosses that line, it gives him a whole 1 second penalty as opposed to the more traditional half a second track limit penalty. And sometimes this game does give you additional time for a track limit if the game thinks that you're gaining like a bigger advantage from doing so. I'm not sure exactly what metrics it calculates to determine that.
BP had a bit of a moment there, going onto the oval. And actually,
and Yuki with a penalty as well.
Yeah, so if
JP closing in on Kem now. It looks like he lost a position to Kem. He must have made a mistake at some point.
Potentially, yeah, or even just maybe a penalty that we kind of missed. But
yeah.
Now this is the discussion I like seeing in chat, talking about tracks we would love to see in Gran Turismo. After seeing all the suggestions in chat, there is not a singular wrong answer in there. I've seen Donington Park, which is a track I've never raced on in any platform, but it looks like it's a fun track based on the layout and how it was actually anticipated to replace Silverstone one year in Formula 1. Kyalami, I mean, that's a track I've been wanting for a long time. Actually, the other day I was at a place here in South Florida and actually met a person from South Africa who was very familiar with the Kyalami circuit, so that was a pretty cool thing. And here's something we haven't talked about yet. Pit stops are coming on through. MayJP is going to go ahead and get rid of those very cooked soft tires, and he's going to throw on some new tires. I'd probably say a set of mediums at this stage. We'll see if he gets fuel too.
Yeah, that's what I was most curious about too, because he's just under halfway through his fuel load, and I'm not exactly sure how far into the... Okay, so we're about 26 minutes in, and so yeah, taking a little bit of fuel probably would be the smart thing to do.
And he's swapped to the mediums.
Interesting choice there for the medium. Let's see. Okay, we do have a handful of drivers on the medium.
I was going to say, considering Lucian, his tire wear's looking pretty solid right now. So, I mean, we got 33.5 minutes left to go in this race, roughly. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this tire wear situation appears. But Alex is appearing now in the rear view mirrors, although probably just nothing but headlights there for Lucian. See if you can even see him in the mirrors. You can see a small little blip, mostly just two white orbs just hovering towards the Toyota of Illusion. Now, I wasn't expecting the Toyota to honestly even be competitive around this track, let alone dominated like it is here. 1, 2, 4 Toyota. One of them is actually the Toyota driver of Nuco. 14 seconds ahead of Illusion.
Oh, yeah. That is kind of funny. He does race for Team Toyota, so it's quite fitting that he would be so dominant in that machine that's an actual Toyota-built car. But yeah, I was so focused on the car differences too, I didn't even notice the compound differences. That might explain some of the dominance we've seen from Nuco in this stint, is he did start on the soft tire, whereas Illusion and Alex just behind him are on the mediums. And it does look like Nuco's tires are fully well cooked, and just as I say so, right on cue, he comes into the pit lane. Here comes that Toyota pit crew to change these tires, and I would assume grab some fuel as well, as we are just under halfway through this race, and he is well over halfway depleted his fuel levels. So our race leader into the pits now. That promotes P1 for the moment to Illusion. By the time Illusion and Alex hit their pit windows, will it be net P1? We will see, and I'm curious what tire Nuco will come out on as well.
Indeed,
it is the medium.
Yeah, so the mediums are definitely the next tire to go on, and I'm seeing quite a few drivers actually opting to, sorry, not the drivers. I'm seeing some people in chat actually talking about that. They're surprised that the softs lasted as long as they did, and these cars seem to be pretty gentle on the tires. Although, granted, Nuko was not running in any kind of dirty air that would affect his tires. I mean, he pretty much had the track all to himself, just taking a casual Sunday afternoon cruise, or Sunday night cruise now, as we are in the twilight cycle of this racetrack. But let's just see here about this battle between Alex and Lucian. Now, if you are Lucian, or Alex for that matter, you can take your pick. When would you pit?
You know, that's a tough one. So the first thing I would do, if I could see what Nuko's lap times are, which if you're Illusion you can't, but now that Nuko has come out on the new version of your tire, I would compare the pace difference, because if Nuko on the new version has almost a move there. If Nuko has a pace advantage, that would make me want to pit earlier. If the pace difference is very similar, then I would go longer if I'm Illusion.
Indeed, yeah, and I mean, I can pretty much almost guarantee that the strategy for today is going to be a one-stop. You go from medium to soft, or soft to medium is what I would probably say, or maybe medium to medium, but I mean, the soft tires can hold on pretty long. They can hold on just about half race distance. The mediums can hang on. Honestly, you don't have to stop for fuel, but like if fuel wasn't a factor, I think theoretically you could probably just do the entire race on that singular set of mediums, because looking at Alex right now, his mediums are just barely halfway as we are at the halfway stage of this race. So tire wear not as big of a problem as I thought it would be.
No, the tire's definitely going to be a one-stop soft to medium there, and that also kind of takes away the strategic potential of managing your fuel levels to just not take an additional pit stop, because you're going to need to take one either way for the tires, so you might as well just be on full power consumption the whole time and take a little bit of fuel while you're in the pits.
Yeah,
BP making a move.
BP is making a move, and so is Alex, trying to send it around the outside, but the outside just gets covered off. Illusion closes the door. He does not want to give up the lead at this stage of the race. Alex is going to try to send it up the horseshoe, but once again, he sends it, and the receiver doesn't accept it. So yeah, that is a very strong defense there for the Norwegian driver.
Absolutely. Very impressive to hold on to that much. Oh, an absolute send on the inside from Alex, but maybe just a little bit too deep, as Illusion once again, for the third time in a row, with just a ton of traction from the outside line, something you wouldn't necessarily expect, but there's a lot more road that you can run from the outside line. And yeah, what a defensive showcase that's been from Illusion there.
Indeed, I 100% agree with it there, B23. An incredible defense here from Illusion. I mean, we know Illusion is a fantastic driver, easily championship caliber driver, winner of the Super Formula 500 this year, and runner-up in the championship. We know that he's definitely got the pace, and he's got the experience too, because I think this is really one of the biggest battles between Alex and Illusion at the moment, is just experience. Illusion's been around since pretty much the get-go here at GPL, and Alex is a bit of a newcomer, at least relative newcomer, but Illusion's into the pits. So he's going to back out of that battle, and he's going to potentially get the undercut done onto Alex here. So we'll see what tire he switches to, because I think he might end up going to another set of mediums, but there may be a chance he goes to the softs.
Yeah, and I have a feeling too that maybe he pitted a little bit earlier than, maybe not that he wanted to, but, you know, on the early side of his pit window, because he's sitting there battling with Alex lap after lap now. And if he has to focus on taking defensive lines to try to maintain track position, he's going to be costing himself time. And even though he's in a battle with Alex for P1 on track, I think in the back of his head he's really trying to race with Nuko, and the more that he has to defend against Alex, the more time he's costing himself to Nuko. As we see when he comes out of the pits, the gap is still just around that 14.5 second mark, and it was about that when they went into the pits. you would have thought Illusion would have maybe gained a little bit of time in the intermediate time window there, but just having to fight the whole time does not help with that.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely want to go try to maximize your outlap here. And Alex, I mean, you gotta wonder how long is he gonna push those medium tires, because I think his tire wear was a bit on the better side compared to Illusion, so he might be able to push these tires a bit longer. Then he can throw on the softs and get that grip advantage that Nuko so heavily benefited from. But now he's on the mediums. Alex does come on into the pits. We'll see what tire he ends up switching to. My guess is probably the softs. Illusion went in and jumped onto the soft tire, so Alex probably definitely gonna make the switch. So interesting, interesting stuff.
We're gonna see if one lap's worth of undercut makes a big enough difference for Illusion here. We're gonna see exactly how much time that was worth.
I think directly behind Illusion, we have a battle that could be forming up here pretty soon. It is Yuki and Death Ghosted here. Death Ghosted in the Audi's got so much battery to play with, and Yuki's battery doesn't exist. I think someone might need to change the AA battery on that Toyota, because it is out of battery right now. So he may have to ask about that battery saving trick, because what we expected to happen to the Toyota battery for the drivers like Nuko and Illusion is now happening to Yuki just directly behind, where that battery gets burned out so quickly, and then the Audi is basically still full on battery.
Yeah, the problem of deploying more than you're recovering, so Yuki is pretty much sitting at 0 battery all lap long, every single lap, whereas Nuko is sitting right around 75% to 100% for the majority of the lap, so he could freely deploy whenever he feels like it, and that's going to be important now that he's on the slower tire compared to Illusion. Although Nuko's still making up ground on Illusion despite the tire difference.
Indeed, yeah. So now I'm gonna do a quick look through the field. I believe everybody except Yuki and Ducadono have made their pit stop in this race. So there's
penalty for Illusion as well.
Well, that's not gonna help his case either, which is very, very unfortunate stuff here. We are actually getting closer to that subscriber goal, ladies and gentlemen. We are at 95 subscribers, only 5 away from that 100 goal. We are really hoping to achieve that goal before the new year hits, before 2026. And if we do that, I will post a video with myself doing a shoey with Dubby. That is going to be our subscriber goal. No. I have done a shoey before, and I will do it again if we get 100 subscribers before 2026. So come on, make it happen.
Guys, for the sake of Rekus's health, do not subscribe to this channel.
Oh, okay, no.
I'm just kidding. No, go ahead. Everyone subscribe. I want to see that too.
Banned from the commentary box. I'm kidding. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and that is a promise I will keep. So if we get to 100 subscribers before 2026, I will do a Dubby shoey.
Yeah, and that doubles as a face reveal to a lot of these guys, so definitely make that happen here in the chat if you haven't already subscribed. Or even just make like 100 alt accounts and get them to subscribe. Just let's rig the game in our favor here, because I want to see that.
I reckon. Oh, I see. F16 in chat saying that we all do a shoey. Ooh, that'd be funny.
All right. Hey, you speak for yourself there, F16. I don't know about all that.
I mean, I've done a shoey, although last time I did was with and I'll do it with Dubby this time around to honor the sponsors. I think I just gotta get like a Dubby sticker and just tape it over like the shoe logo.
The one I've seen was my GPL teammate CBD. He won a championship in a different series, and he did a chocolate milk shoey.
Oh. Well, I'm not a milk person, so that doesn't sound appetizing to me. But that sounds like it's kind of fun though, because I know a track that we still need in this game. It's kind of baffling that we don't have it. Indianapolis, I know the big thing for winning the Indy 500 is drinking the milk. So, I mean, I see it.
A milk shoey, especially a chocolate milk shoey, I'm sure that stank.
Not good for my liver. Don't worry, it regenerates. I love seeing the chat have fun. That's the big goal here. I mean, I know these drivers are pretty much competing tooth and nail for positions, for championships, for race wins, for pretty much every statistic you could possibly throw in. But most importantly, we just want these drivers to have fun. And we're going to see a very fun battle here between Camager and May JP, fighting it around the International Horseshoe. And Camager he was looking for a move around the outside. So this is Toyota v Toyota here. He is pretty much still right up on the gearbox of the high caliber racing Toyota up ahead. Dread it, run from it. The VTuber car will always be in your blind spot as he is being chased down. I'm not sure which VTuber that is, but I'm sure Camager will tell me afterwards. But the VTuber is hot on your tail, so you better run.
I do guarantee Camager knows. He knows them all. He's quite the expert. But I do love these VTuber liveries that he does. They're quite fun. And coming from my original background being in a drift team, and the liveries I did were like for drift cars for the most part when I was starting out, I did my fair share of anime liveries, and so I'm an appreciator of a good anime livery.
Yeah, I've never really done an anime livery because I'm like the one person in my age demographic that doesn't really watch anime all that much. Actually, just about never, honestly. I don't think I've watched anime in like a year or so, which no like discredit or disrespect to anyone who does watch it. It's just not my usual cup of tea. But yeah, I've never really done an anime livery. Most of my liveries are based on either like a motorsports team or an esports team. Like the most recent livery I did is for M80, which is an American esports organization. I think that
was a good one.
I think I had their livery on when I was doing one of the pre-qualifying sessions. I think I had it on my Toyota LMP car. So
yeah, that was a good looking livery. I liked that one.
If I can convince M80 to join GPL, that'd be pretty neat. It'd be a pretty different color too, because I mean, I know Kaizen Motorsports has a bit of that lime green, and also Red Bull Adidas has a similar lime green, but they call their color shock yellow. And I've actually been kind of thinking sometimes, and sometimes when I mess around with liveries, like, okay, what if like FaZe Clan or something joined GPL, and I would whip up a livery for that?
It would be cool.
I just noticed something too, and I might be kind of silly for just now noticing this, but if you look at a top-down view of the Red Bull Adidas car of Daytona, these stripes going down the sides are kind of like the Adidas tracksuits that you see.
Ah, yes.
I don't know, I didn't notice that before.
Yeah.
But that's actually really neat. That's a very good design detail.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, he's been doing designs for this Red Bull Adidas brand for a long time now, too. Many seasons across many different leagues, and he's just been always slightly evolving it, switching in the color palettes a little bit here and there, incorporating some of this neon highlighter yellow green, and it's just been, I think he's been refining the details, especially incorporating the Adidas into it with the stripes. I've been enjoying that, so always good work to Ducky Dono on his liveries. And he makes really nice cities in City Skylines too. He shows me those sometimes. I'm a very big appreciator of anyone who can design a nice and efficient city.
How do you think Ducky Dono would do when it comes to track design?
Oh yeah.
I'd have to ask about that.
Yeah. If you're, like, I've seen, like, when he shows me his cities, I see the way the roads are laid out, and he does proper, like, traffic hierarchy and stuff. That tells me that he probably would know what he's doing as far as designing a track.
Honestly, I would probably tell my city to hire him to fix some of the undesirable highway design choices that my city has made here in South Florida. I think Ducky Dono could probably do a bit of a better job than they could. Oh, there are some really rough roads where I'm at currently, but speaking of, this does remind me of a time when it was HRC, which is a series that actually Alex competes in. It's a GT3 series that races on Fridays. But I actually, from like 5 or 6 months ago, I still owe the owner of that league a track map for like what my personal track would look like. It was on the first stream because we had a massive tech delay. But yeah, I still technically own a track layout. Speaking of track layouts too, have you seen that F1 track maker that is a thing, but with the Amazon AI stuff?
I have not.
Yeah, I mess with it a little bit. It's kind of neat. Kind of a pain to work with though, but pretty neat all the same.
Oh, I might have to check that out, because I remember Gran Turismo 5, they had an actual track designer mode. And I designed a couple tracks in Gran Turismo 5. And now that I know what I know now, I would love... I doubt they're going to do it even in the next one, but I would absolutely love a track designer mode in Gran Turismo to be brought back. Because then we wouldn't even... Especially you could upload them and download them and freely use them how we do liveries. We wouldn't even need to complain about them not adding Silverstone or Monaco or Bahrain. We could just add it ourselves, because you already know people are going to go to extreme lengths to make sure the accuracy is very, very close to the real-life counterparts.
I mean, even on top of that too, people can just make their own like actual fantasy tracks and make some really cool ones. So that actually opens up a lot of doors on the esports side of things too. Not just for GPL, but for any league really. So I'd be all for that type of thing. But speaking of leagues and operations, how do you think that this first race is going so far? I mean, the field is spread out quite a bit. We are down to about the last 14 minutes left to go of this race. But, I mean, I think, honestly, as the sun is rising, I think the series has been off to a pretty solid start here.
Absolutely, and I mean, the gaps is kind of what you would expect to see about 45 minutes in at Daytona, but nonetheless, I think it has been a very intriguing and interesting race where there's a lot of kind of moving parts, especially with the unknowns, with the differences in the cars, the battery deployments, tire strategy, if fuel's even going to be a factor. It does turn out that they did need to take a little bit of fuel. They don't really have to manage it, but they did have to take some additional fuel. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it'll only get more interesting in the next rounds when we're in more regular circuits that we generally see these guys drive on, and in cars that we're even more unfamiliar with. Oh, as our race leader picks up a half a second penalty, but that won't affect him too badly at 14.5 seconds in the lead.
Apparently, I gotta figure out why, but apparently I have to pay a fine according to our YouTube chat. I mean, that's probably for some hot take I had, but I don't even know what hot take it actually is. There's too many hot takes to count that I have said here as my time as a commentator. Who knows? What's your bet on what my fine is that I apparently have to serve?
Like the fine itself, or the reason for the fine?
Reason for the fine.
Oh, reason for the fine. For being so fine. I'm
going home. As I'm sitting in my apartment. Oh, it's a track map fine. Okay, yeah, so that checks out. I am sense. Way past doing that. But
yeah, I withdraw my reason then.
Just like as we can see, Nuko has pretty much just withdrawn himself from the rest of the competitors here, as he is still 13.5 seconds away, almost 14 seconds away from Lujan, and this has been a very dominant start in a car that we weren't expecting to really be dominant, because we were expecting the Audi to be like the primo car, just because we know it's like in most situations it is probably the best out of the 3 cars available.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lujan is about 2 seconds ahead of Alex in the Toyota, and Alex is in the Audi. Death is the other Audi, and he is, I mean, he's got a very, he's kind of in the middle of nowhere. He's at P4. He's got 12 seconds of a gap to the car ahead and then 19 to the car behind. So, I mean, the Audis weren't really dominant here. I mean, oh, Killswitch is in Audi too, and he's in last. So, Audi not exactly as dominant here as we actually kind of thought they would be.
No, and that's very interesting to me is, you know, maybe there is a reason that most of these drivers did opt to pick the Toyota today. Maybe the track being so unique just kind of fits the characteristics of the Toyota more so than the Audi, or maybe it just brings the Toyota closer to the Audi, and therefore that's where I would want to take it too, because there's probably going to be a track where the advantage of the Audi is a lot more pronounced, and that's the tracks that you want to be in the Audi for. So it's going to take a lot of testing for these guys to get it right.
Agreed, and that's the cool thing about these community series is that I know some of the complaints is around some esports leagues is like, oh, they only use one type of car. Oh, they would be terrible in any other type of car. Which that statement in itself usually isn't true, but we see how good these drivers are at adapting, and adaptability is probably one of the most important traits you can have as a racing driver, whether in the simulator or in the real world. So adaptability is key, and series like these kind of show that these drivers have some of the most adaptability in the world.
Absolutely, it is quite impressive. It does look like Alex is making up ground on Illusion a bit here, as that gap is now under 1 second.
Indeed, that gap is shrunk quite considerably, so the raw race pace of the Audi is coming in here. So I'm still really curious how that Porsche is going to do, just because we don't have any Porsches on the grid today. But 2 weeks from now, when we head to Deep Forest Raceway, I believe we will see at least one Porsche, I would imagine. I kind of doubt that everybody who is in the Toyota would swap to an Audi and vice versa.
Yeah,
and then
that would
still
be
no
wicked.
Porsches. And then pretty much race 3 would probably just be a Porsche 1 make, just about. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Absolutely, and I do wonder how much of Alex's coming back into this fight is car related versus just driving related, because as we do know too that like there's a pretty big difference between Nuco and Illusion at the current point in this race too, and they're in the same car, so there definitely is, as much as we're making a deal out of the difference between the cars, at the end of the day the drivers still have to drive them, and they make the biggest difference in the world with these cars.
Agreed, and I mean, you can have the fastest car in the world, but if you can't maximize the potential of that car, then your car really isn't the fastest. I mean, that's all you can really say about that. But we are down to less than 10 minutes left to go in this race, and these drivers are still making their way through, lapping very closely, and we're going to soon have a battle here for P2. Battle for the 2 podium spots here on the circuit, as we go ahead and take a look from the rear wing of Illusion, as you can just see the ebb and flow of how close Alex gets. And then the Toyota having a bit of a better launch through some of these corners. He's able to go ahead and start pulling away a bit here through the International Horseshoe just before they join back onto the oval. And this is actually a really neat view. I kind of like the view from this angle better on this car than the Super Formulas, which is kind of an interesting thing to note. But regardless of that, Alex is still going to try to fight tooth and nail in typical Alex fashion. And I mean,
yes.
Say what you want about Alex, he may be impatient, he may be reckless, but he does not know the word quit.
No, absolutely not. And as you alluded to early on in the stream with the Senna quote, he's not Ayrton Senna, but he is the Ayrton Senna quote.
Yeah, that pretty much checks out, especially like early on in the GT500 series, where if there was a turn 1 lap 1 accident, it would involve the German driver here, but it would, I mean, he's definitely grown as a driver. We saw the progression through Super Formula, and we're seeing a very good drive here from himself, trying to go against Illusion, trying to fight around the outside, getting very, very close here. He's got to have a lot of speed, he's going to chop right across, but still not quite enough. The defense from Lucian was just too strong, and maybe even a little bit of muscling there from Lucian onto Alex, but I mean, that was an audacious move trying to fire it up the outside like that.
Yeah, Lucian really flexing his racecraft right now, as we've seen Alex have a run into turn one on Illusion many a time now at this point, and he just cannot make it stick and be all the way past Illusion by the time they're in the exit. Illusion doing a really good job at managing the release of his brakes to carry enough momentum to maintain that track position without overshooting himself and losing track position. Now he's got quite a much better exit out of the final turn as they enter the oval once more, creating a gap back up to a second as we're approaching around 5 minutes remaining in this race. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the endurance format, as we normally do just a standard number of laps type of race, the endurance format is a timed race rather than laps. So there's 60-minute timer, and as soon as the 60 minutes hits 0, then everyone is on their final lap and you get to go around one more time and cross the line, and then that is your position.
Indeed, yeah, so it pretty much just tracks how many miles you have driven and like what position you are overall in the race. So I mean, it's a really cool system. Endurance racing is probably, I would honestly kind of argue and say it's probably the third most watched form of motorsports, just behind NASCAR and Formula One. But it's pretty close with MotoGP and Rally, because I know both of those are extremely popular, and rightfully so. Very fantastic racing over in those series. But, I mean, there's something just about the pure grit of these endurance type races. Just going around for an hour straight. You don't know how many laps you're going to do. All you know is you got a timer, and you got to keep that position until the timer. And you can't really make any, like, because I know sometimes in Super Formula you can make lap time based strategy, or lap number based strategies, like, oh, you're gonna pit on lap 32 out of 50 something, just to throw some numbers out there. But here you pretty much just gotta drive and just kind of adapt on the fly, essentially, just because you don't have a set amount of laps, you just have a timer.
Yeah, and you can have kind of like a stint plan where you have a rough idea of what stints you're gonna do and how your stints are going to look. But yeah, like I said, there's not a precise number that you can divide your stints up to based on that lap number. And so you kind of just have to make it in terms of pit windows to try to make sure that you're not in a suboptimal interval by the time you get towards 0, because you wouldn't want to have to like take an additional pit stop with just a few minutes left. So you do have to stretch it out just right to make sure you meet the whole race time, but it's a little harder to divide up those stints really accurately when you're planning your strategy ahead of time.
Oh, here we go. It's time once again as we're down to the final 3 minutes of this race. It is Alex and Lucian once again fighting for the second and third steps on the podium. Alex is getting really close now to the back of Lucian. And as we see, we can just see just how close he is to the back of the Norwegian driver. We'll see if Lucian can go ahead and keep him at bay for basically about another 2 laps, give or take. So
yeah. Yeah, there's quite an ebb and flow, as you say, too, with these two cars, and I do think this might actually be a bit of the differences between the cars at play here, because you can see as soon as they go into the infield part of the track, that the Audi's cornering speed really comes alive, and yet just not quite the overtaking opportunity is there to get past Illusion, but he's always closed up and right on the bumper of Illusion every time they get in there. But then by the time the exit comes, Illusion kind of stretches out another gap to go all the way around the oval with.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a bit of extra field management here. Alex is going to try to send it up the inside. Once again, Alex licking the step and sending it up the inside, giving him a little love tap there, but he does get the move done. Let's go check that out on a replay, because that was actually
and another
Lucian go for the switchback. The switchback occurs, and once again, Alex able to take a short-term victory, but just can't make it stick more than a few corners.
Yeah, that was a mighty send, and another one. Goodness, Alex is really dive bombing into every corner here, and that really is the only thing he can do if he wants to get past Illusion. Illusion has so much more traction going around the outside in these exits, though. They're getting really friendly now, making a lot of contact throughout these last few corners. And does look like a bit of frustration maybe setting in for both of these drivers. I know Illusion's not going to be happy with the way Alex is sending it into these corners. And, oh my, and now we got Alex going, taking the low line here. This is going to be very big, as we got about 30 seconds left on the timer too. So maybe just enough time for them to cross the line and have one more lap. But now Alex made his way ahead of Illusion. This is going to be tight now.
He's weaving around, trying to break the toe, trying to break the slipstream from the Toyota, but Illusion is stuck to the back of Alex there. Just very close racing here. I think we're going to see a send. Games. Oh, he's going to try to fire it around the outside. Doesn't quite get it done. Alex getting his elbows out. And that one may have been a bit questionable, but I mean, it's all to play for here still, as the one thing that was definitely not questionable in the slightest was the absolute dominance of this man right here. He led from basically taking the lead surely in the first few laps to now coming home with a 17.5 second lead. The number 24 car of Nuco on his way to victory lane.
Absolutely. It was a fantastic race from Nuco, and we didn't have to talk about him too much other than just comparing what his car was looking like to his competition. So if we don't have to focus on you too much, you're probably doing a good job not drawing the attention of the commentators. And especially when you're in P1, that's a very consistent, well-managed drive from Nuco. Congrats on the victory, as he is going to cross the line here any moment. And between these two, deciding what side of Nuco they want to be on when they stand on the podium here between Alex and Illusion, it did seem to me like every time Alex sent it on the inside, Illusion would just have a bit more grip around the outside to maintain that position, unless and until the moment when Alex decided to give a little bit of an additional push when they started picking up the gas pedal. Indeed. Oh, and the runoff time was not long enough for them to cross the line, so they may have to adjust that in the next rounds.
Well, no, I think everybody actually did cross the line. Some cars were a few laps down, so I think everybody did finish. But anyways, we're going to go through our timing table here. Nuco pretty much taking just about a grand slam, just missing that pole position, but he does get fastest lap and the race win. And his fastest lap was a 1:32.287, a fantastic drive. And then the battle that went straight to the end, and the only other two cars to actually finish on the lead lap of Alex and Illusion rounding out our podium. And then it is Death Ghosted, BP, Yuki, May JP making up a handful of positions there. And then we have Chemisher, Duckadono, and Kill Switch rounding out our grid. So, in lieu of that, how did you feel about that race?
It was quite entertaining. I liked it, and it was really good to actually see these type of cars on track too, because I've only done commentary one time for a car like this, these Group 1 cars, and it was in a kind of a weird circumstance. I wasn't familiar with anyone in there really. So this is a proper series with these cars, and it's really good to see very interesting factors at play here. And I'm even more interested in seeing how the next round is going to go based on what we saw today.
Indeed. So that is going to go ahead and wrap things up here on today's stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning on in. And once again, our goal is to get to 100 subscribers before the new year starts. And we are only 5 away from achieving that goal here. Once again, a massive shout out to our sponsor of W.GG. Go ahead and head to W.GG to go ahead and get yourself an energy shaker or even just a hydration shaker if you're not feeling the caffeine. And remember to use promo code GPL check out to get yourself a nice 10% discount, and then that way you can also support the league. On behalf of B23, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and we've been your hosts and commentators for today's stream. Tune in 2 weeks from now when we head to Deep Forest Raceway for round 2 of this fantastic series. Thank you all, and have a good night.